Hey everyone, ASP here, and we're back now to Pokemon Generation 8. More information has come out, so I'm a little bit slow on getting some of this information out to you. There has been loads of theories on the starters, and people have already been discussing this leak, the 96 new Pokemon leak. I'm going to give my opinions today on what I think is going to be happening, guys. I have a bit of a tweak on the starter theory. I'm not saying that the musician, sports player, and theatrical actor are wrong, but I think there's a second layer not just one trio team. There's a second one. I'll come to that shortly. And then I'm also going to go through my thoughts on this potential leak. I actually think there could be some truth to it. Game Freak, of course, at the last minute can make changes to make it look like it isn't real. But I think this possibly is our Generation 8 Pokedex. So let's discuss. We'll go through the Pokedex and we'll come back to the starters at the end. But to start at the Pokedex, you do have to go through the starters. So first up, we know Grookey, and that's correct. Obviously, he's a pure grass type. He evolves into a slightly larger Pokemon with a slightly larger stick in his second stage. I mean, we all would have thought that was true. And his final stage has him, in full kind of Bard regalia, kind of like a Shaolin monkey fighter kind of guy. I'm not even sure where he's going with that. But what's interesting, if you look at the coloration up here at the top, guys, you will see that it is grass steel. So a grass steel Pokemon. So let's just go across here. Of course, we do know there have been some grass steels in the past. So Ferrothorn being someone that was super popular in the meta, and of course recently in the most recent games, if I scroll down, you will see there's Kartana. They're the only ever grass steel Pokemon, so this Grookey and its evolutionary line, in its final evolution, would be a rare dual typing. Not unique, pretty rare, which is great, and definitely a brand new starter combination, which is awesome. To add on to it as well with the whole monkey stick thing we have going on here throughout his evolutionary line, people say he's going to be a musician type. And to add on to that, do some very, very basic research. The monkey stick itself, when you look it up, is actually a traditional English percussion instrument. I mean, Game Freak, with some very limited amount of research, can be like, right, this is our folk musician. It's not just that he's a musician. He's not like a rock star. He's not punk. He's folk musician, going into old monkey stick musical instruments. I haven't really heard much about it, but looking at the image, I kind of get a feel of them. You see them kind of busking people with these kind of, jingly kind of instruments. So that looks to be what they're basing Grookey's line on. But I do have a second thing, which I'll come back to at the end. We'll carry on with the Pokedex for now. Second up, you have Scorbunny, and Scorbunny just looks really, really cool. Yeah, we'll zoom in. So Scorbunny looks really cool. When he walks in the trailer that we've seen so far, every step he takes, there is an ignition of fire when he does it. And then you look at it, we're talking about the bandage on his nose and the bandage on his feet. I don't think they're bandages. I think they are, if you had an old box of matches and on the side of the box of matches, you had that pad where you struck the match, that ignition pad, that kind of braided, ignite, hard material that if you struck a match off, it would light up. You guys, younger people might not know what I'm talking about, but anyone who's an older viewer will know what those are. And that's exactly what I think they are on Scorbunny's feet and nose. They are basically ignition pads that when he hits and strikes his feet on the ground, a flame it gets ignited. And if he headbutts, which is what I'm really looking forward to see in future videos, he will cause an ignition to happen on his opponent. And also, I guess, flame contact with him would cause, to strike his face, would cause flame damage to be done back to any opponent. Which leads into my other part of the theory. So everyone thinks Scorbunny is going to be the soccer player. The score part, not really meaning scorch, which I think it does mean. It also means scores and score a goal. That could potentially be true. He definitely looks like the most athletic of the three starters for sure. Although Grookey can climb pretty fast, but I think Scorbunny is seen as that fast speedster kind of striker type. So definitely could play into him being a sports star, but I think he is, well, I'll come back to it later, but he is the sword of Sword and Shield. Yes, there are Sword and Shield legendaries, but the trio also have a Sword Shield team, and we'll come back to that later. His evolutionary line, his second stage is kind of like Easter Rabbit, cutesy, kind of going down a female route with just being pure fire as well. And then his final stage is Fire Fairy. Not Fire Psychic, that's a lighter pink, which is Fire Fairy, not the darker pink to indicate Psychic type. And when you go along here to fairies that are fire, I mean, none. This would be not just unique for starter, but in my mind, this is a unique type that we have never seen before. So I know a lot of people were saying, oh, we have another Delphox on our way, because it did seem like that. with it being this kind of like moon um, fairy type person, but it's not psychic. It is fairy, which does make a twist on it. It is more like it's more like Poplio's evolutionary line than it will be like Delphox's, and it's the fire typing of that. But we'll come back again to the starters later. So on to the final starter, and that is Sobble, who looks awesome and is currently my favorite. A lot of people, when they saw the initial trailer, were saying um, that he wasn't that great. I initially thought Grookey was going to be my favorite, but just looking at this potential evolution line, if we're getting a water dragon, I mean, how do I not pick Sobble? I still want Grookey to be my Grookey's my favorite starter, but I'm not sure is he going to be my favorite final evolution. Or we'll have to wait and see. But if Sobble goes down the water dragon for its final line, and it looks like it's going down this like iguana route. So yeah, it's going down an iguana route, and I'm not sure what's happening there with that. When you look across water dragons, I mean, we've had some. The only ones I remember us having for sure were, I know we had Seadra, but I'm not seeing it anywhere. Here he is. Oh, Kingdra even, sorry. Kingdra and Palkia, the legendary. So again, super rare, only 2 others before, quite like Ferrothorn and Kartana, and never before seen for a starter. I mean, these are great potential starters. I mean, we've never had this before. And a dragon type in the starter, something we wanted back in Generation 1 with Charizard. I mean, we're finally getting, it's not a fire dragon, but we're getting that dragon starter. So I think everyone's pretty hyped about that right now. And you could totally see that it's based on the Chinese water dragon. The second evolution image, I almost think, is that. It's just this giant iguana, which they call dragons, lizards, but it's just a giant iguana lizard that obviously in Pokemon becomes a dragon in its final stage. The second stage is just the iguana, the massive iguana, and then in the final stage it goes beyond that to become a full-on water dragon. That's pretty awesome. And just to go back to the fire starter again, we do have the moon rabbit, which was a thing I forgot to come to this while ago, is a Wikipedia search. So this is basically, this wouldn't be coming from English mythology if the region is based on English, but going to Chinese mythology, there is a folklore about the moon rabbit. It basically this creature that lives on the moon, and basically it identifies them. Yeah, it's just this random folklore from China. I never really heard it before. I just did some research and kind of came up with this. But I mean, it's Scorbunny, a fire rabbit, and its final type has a crescent moon that it's sitting on, and it looks like it's a fire fairy moon, angelic thing. Moon rabbit, right? Okay, cool. Moon rabbit's second. That's what we got. We're getting the moon rabbit, which will be a fire fairy. Right, now we can speed up because we're blowing through the starters, which are kind of something that we definitely know the starters, at least the initial stages of the line, are true. Everything else after that might not be true, but grass, steel, fire, fairy, and water dragon, I'm lit. I want all 3. Don't know which one I'd pick yet. Have to see those final forms. Grookey is my favorite for now, but I think Sobble could take over down the way. Moving on, then we get our Dedenne of the region, the little hamster who's normal type, and then he evolves into a second level, which actually isn't Dedenne really. It's more like a Patrat, Bidoof, and he becomes rather becoming Bidoof like Bibarrel being normal water. This is normal grass. And if HMs were around, this would probably be your HM slave Pokemon. Next up, we have like a Vullaby Mandibuzz type of evolution, with 2-stage bird. Looks like the regional birds of the region. I guess it's more like a Tailo Swellow, because instead of being a 3-stage bird, it's only a 2-stage bird. So I guess Tailo Swellow, but because the bird starts in an egg type thing, it reminds me much more of Vullaby. And then the next stage being the Mandibuzz, where instead of being a vulture, it's going to be some sort of stork pelican. Next up, we have a grasshopper that starts off grass and then goes grass fighting based on the coloration. That definitely looks like the kind of brownish, orangish, kind of bronzy kind of a color. I think that definitely is signifying fighting in this guy's image. So yeah, I definitely think this is fighting. It's signifying. So basically, I mean, a grasshopper that fighting. It's got all the arms and limbs, and it can jump really high. So high jump kick is totally a possibility. Definitely flavorful. Grasshoppers will be something that's very common in England, and I can totally see that being a regional thing. Next up, we have this 1-stage squirrel all by itself. I mean, it looks like it's basically a fire version of Pachirisu, where Pachirisu was electric, and it's kind of like the squirrel rodent type thing. It looks like we now have a fire version of Pachirisu. So that's cool. Next up, we have Pig 1 and then Pig 2. So Pig seems like a little piglet, kind of a youngster, whereas Pig 2, it's full Warthog. It's got the tusks coming up. So yeah, a Warthog, that's cool. So I mean, Awesome. Pig 2 looks like and the typing, by the way, I think well, I think it's rock type. I think the lighter gray is rock. When you come down to Badger here, the dark, the kind of mid brown, that's ground. So, and then Stone you see here is more like rock. So this is a rock type pig. So kind of like rock ruff into lichen rock, I guess, but instead of being wolf, it's pig. Um, so that's cool. I'm totally on for that. I have no problem with that. Cool Warthog. Warthog, man, it could be like a Rock Donphanny type thing as well. Maybe like a big, bulky, just tanky kind of attacker. Can be beaten, but has a lot of weaknesses. But cool Pokemon. Next up, and being Irish, we have a potato. It doesn't look like it's pure grass though. It looks like, well, the best I can say is that's grass electric? No, it can't be. I mean, over here you have dog, which is pure yellow. That's definitely an electric dog. I mean, which is cool for a greyhound being a fast electric type. That's a nice play. Anyway, we'll come back to that. But it looks a bit yellowy to me, and I can't think of another type right now. We'll go through the types and maybe come back to this. Oh, maybe it's rock actually. Sorry, yes. Is it rock? I think it's a grass rock. That makes more sense. It's in the ground. Why wouldn't it be grass ground? Maybe actually it's grass ground. Maybe I'm being dumb here. It's yes, not electric. It's not yellow enough for electric. Is it darker brown or lighter brown? It's either grass rock or grass ground. Definitely grass rock or grass ground. I would say grass ground makes more sense. It's because the potato or the tuber part is buried in the ground. And then when it evolves, it flowers, and you have the flower part of the potato, which is above ground. And that part is grass poison. There's nothing poisonous about the flower of potato. I mean, people don't eat it, but I mean, I don't think it's poisonous. As far as I know, guys, that's not poisonous, but I could be wrong. I mean, I'm from Ireland. I should know, but I don't. So a spud that flowers, great. And then you have, and I believe this the spud the potato is from either it's probably from sword, and then from shield you're getting just the roots, and then this is the root of a plant, I guess. Again, it's just pure grass, and weirdly the root isn't grass ground like the potato is, because the root is underground as well, buried in soil. But it's not. This just kind of reminds me of a belt sprout. I mean, it's pure. It's a little root type Pokemon, and then it evolves and has some flowering on it, and it becomes grass ice, I believe, or grass flying. I mean, that's a lighter blue. No, it's definitely ice. It's grass ice, because if you look up here, bird, that's a darker blue, and this is much lighter blue. So that's pure flying. Man, flying and water are far too similar. In fact, normal, it could be, that bird might not be the regional bird. That could just be water typing. Now that I'm looking at Sobble compared to the pelican here, that could just be water. I mean, pelican is a water bird, right? So hard to tell, guys. Hard to tell for sure. When you come onto the root, though, back to where we were, that's ice type. I mean, that's a lighter blue. Flying could fall into that if this isn't flying, but if this is flying, then this has to be grass ice, right? But then the fish and bird, actually, when you look at fish actually even closer, that's water type. That the bird is just pure water. There's a bird that's pure water type. It's not looks to be flying at all, unless there's a combination of flying water in there, and I can't really tell the merge because the colors are too similar. I got really close to the screen there. I was just trying to look at my own screen. It could be flying water. I'm not sure on that. But the root looks too light. That's ice for me. Anyway, not sure, but cool. A big flowered root and a big flowered potato. One will be sword, one will be shield. Next, we come on to the Goldeen. So some Generation 1 fan service. It's a goldfish. I mean, this is Goldeen, right? So it's a pure water type, but then it evolves into this cool guy. So we had Seeking was Goldeen's evolution. This guy has a much bigger cranium thing going on, and naturally, because of that, he gets water, and he picks up a secondary typing of Psychic. So that cranium is going to do a lot of Psychic underwater stuff, which would be cool. It could be cool. I mean, anything's better than Bruxish from Alola. That was a terribly designed Pokemon. So better water fish types. That's great. Next up, we spoke about it a while ago. We have Dog 1 and Dog 2. This is our Lillipup, I guess, but it's electric, pure electric, no normal type in there, pure electric. It evolves to Greyhound, so I guess they're playing on, like with Zeb Striker being that lightning fast kind of horse. This is the lightning fast dog, Greyhound, being a lightning fast dog. In fact, in buses in Ireland, I'm not sure if this is a fan service to Ireland rather than UK, but the buses have greyhounds on the side of them, indicating express services. Not always the case though from Ireland, I'll tell you that much, guys. But yeah, it's an electric dog, which is cool, really, really cool. I mean, that's going back to, what was his name? I can't think of, there is a pure electric dog from like Hoenn or from Sinnoh, but I can't think of I'll come back to that later. Next, we have a pure fairy standalone Pokemon. Looks kind of like, I don't know what that looks like a penguin inside of a, like that's been inflated like a balloon. That's all I know for now. Next up, we have these larvae, pure grass type ants that evolve into ant 2A or ant 2B. I've heard people say that this like second generation level and then finally into one with flying, but no, this is 2A and 2B. The formula has been 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, not 2A, 2B. 2A, 2B means it's alternate evolutions. So this is kind of like our Wurmple, which went into Dustox and Beautifly, depending on whether it was day or night. Now, the mechanic could be day or night. One mechanic could be sword, one mechanic could be shield. So the Ant 1, the pure grass type, is available in both games. But if you get him in sword, he'll evolve into a grass fire Ant 2A. And if you got him in shield, he would evolve into a grass water Ant 2B. I mean, grass fire. There's a fire ant there coming out who's going to be grass fire. We've all wanted grass fire for a long time. We're getting a grass fire Pokemon. Unique type combinations are coming in Generation 8. If this is true, which I'm hoping it is, that is awesome. So either a fire ant or a flying kind of water. Actually, sorry, that's probably grass flying now that I look at it. Now that I look at it, it's probably not. I was thinking grass water to compare with grass fire, but it's got wings, so it's probably grass flying. I cannot differentiate the coloring of fire, water and flying in this type chart. It's a little bit annoying. I know that the Route 2 is definitely ice. That's a much lighter blue, but the difference between blues for the waters and the flyings, hard to distinguish. So, but I'm assuming based on the mechanic of what it looks like in the picture, it's a flying, it's that warrior ant. So it's a grass flying, which would be the shield version or the sword version, who knows, and then the fire ant in the other version. And that I'm saying it's version exclusive. That's my opinion, but it could be a day-night mechanic, it could be a happiness, hate mechanic, it could be item-based, who knows. There's a lot of different ways of doing it. One could be trade, one could be level, who knows, but I would assume it's version exclusive. That's just my initial thoughts. So next up is very interesting. For the first time, we don't have a 1 next to the first Pokemon of its type. It starts off being Sheep 2 and goes Sheep 3. So this for me is Flaffy, the sheep we all know and love from many generations ago, it's going to get a branched evolution in the Galar region. Flaffy here don't evolve up to Ampharos. They instead evolve to Sheep 2 here and Sheep 3, which appear to be normal type in Sheep 2 and then normal and Steel in Sheep 3. The darker gray there at the bottom indicates that it's not just pure normal, it becomes a Steel, has dual typing normal Steel, which means fighting types are going to destroy it. But it's basically getting that bulky wool from being in the Galar region, which obviously is like a steel wool, kind of like that the bristle wool you get in like those pillow pads or something like that. That's what they're kind of indicating here. It's that thick, heavy wool that almost becomes metallic in nature, which is cool because that wool would then generate static. That's why the Ampharos sheds that, and it has the electric combo. So then they're kind of just too tenuously linked. Sheep 3 here is like basically Ampharos with all of its wool still attached, kind of a thing, I think is what it's saying. And we kind of got hinted at when we saw Ampharos's Mega Evolution, where we're starting to get some of the wool growing back. So this is like another version of that where it's like fully wooled, hasn't shed any of its coat, and it picks up a steel typing rather than the electric typing because it's suppressed and holding all the static within. It may even have a ability like static, because of all the static electricity is holding in its wool within the body, that if you actually were to touch it, it causes paralysis. That would be a really nice callback and tribute to the fact that it's from the Ampharos line. Maybe I'm going on a tangent, but that's where my brain is going, guys. So next up, we got to speed up here because we're going way. This video is going to be a long video. Next up, we have Badger 1 and Badger 2. And what's interesting here about Badger 1 and Badger 2 being next to the sheep is that, in the UK, badgers kind of carry TB or tuberculosis, and they're seen as a kind of a pest almost. The fact that they would be next to the sheep here could be like a Zangoose, a viper type of combination where these people are pitted against one another. They don't get on. So the badgers are the mortal enemy of the sheep, because if they come into the area, they can cause disease or cause the Pokemon to maybe just become ill. Pokemon might come up with a less family friendly answer rather than they give it the disease. So maybe it won't be disease, but something like these badgers are troublesome and maybe cause trouble for the sheep in their natural habitat, and maybe force them to leave that habitat. That's not true in nature, but that could be true in Pokemon, to replace the fact that badgers can spread disease. Because I don't think they're going to want a Pokemon that can spread disease. Now, they haven't given it the poison type, so this could be a very, very loose theory from me. It's not got poison, so I don't think it's going to be spreading disease, but it could be it's like it takes over the territory. It's a pure ground type, so maybe it burrows through and ruins the ground so the sheep can't feed there anymore, things like that. But it goes from this like normal cute looking badger into this absolutely ferocious honey badger type creature, which I'm assuming is going to have some heavy stats. Next up, we're going to totally find the next Pokemon, Stone 1 and Stone 2, at the Stonehenge region in the game, absolutely. Stone 1 being pure rock type, and then Stone 2 has a darker pink, so it picks up Stone and Psychic. So I guess like it's like your Soul Rock Lunatone, but it's like your Stonehenge kind of mystical stones that you might see. Next up, we have a standalone normal poison, I guess, in a rat type. This generation's Raticate. That's fair enough. Next up, we have the Chandelure type Pokemon. So it's going to be a pure clock here, which is pure ghost. The next level is kind of like it's like Big Ben face. It's not Big Ben. I'm not at the face of Big Ben, but it's like a big grandfather clock. It goes from a kind of a clock from like Beauty and the Beast into a clock like a big grandfather open face clock. And it's just clock 1, clock 2. It stays pure ghost type, so that's going to be interesting. Obviously, some sort of haunted house region or some old region where the clock is coming out of life and attacking. Next up, we have manatees, and the first one being water, and the second one looks like it's water rock. So not really picking that up from its real life nature, but in the game, maybe it becomes so thick the skin that it becomes rock-like, rather than actually being a rock, actual rock. So next up, we have Fencer 1A and Fencer 1B. And Quality Ants, my opinion on 1A and 1B here is that these are version exclusives, kind of like your Hitmonlee, Hitmonchan, Throw, and Sock. There's been loads of these different fighters over the years, but they're fighter steals. So this kind of plays on the sword and shield. So I'm assuming the Fencer 1A, because it's carrying the sword, the fencing, the fencing equipment here, that it is the Pokemon Sword exclusive, and then Fencer 1B being the one trying to repose or whatever that the terminology is. It's trying to dodge, so it's the shield trying to block or trying to get away, and it's the fighting steel type from Pokemon Shield, and they're version exclusives in my opinion. So next up we have Toad 1 and Toad 2, which look to be Poison Psychic from my thing. I think it's like a purple up above and then it goes into darker pink. Some of the blurring of the colors is it's quite hard to distinguish. That could easily be Toad 1, could just be pure pink. But I do think there's a little hint of a purple at top rather than, shall we say, there was another pink a while ago, which was, there actually wasn't a pure pink a while ago. So there we go. I think this is purple pink. I think it's a Poison Psychic Frog. It's kind of like then it goes into this Bullfrog, which is cool. So that's just pretty cool. Next up, we have a slot, kind of like the Ice Age guy here. We haven't really had a slot since Slackot and Slacking. This looks to be the first type there. I mean, that lightness could be normal, could be like just a pure light gray, or you could say there's a little bit of rock in there, but I don't think it is. I think it's meant to be normal. And it's the green tinge that when it blurs makes it look like it's going more yellowy. I don't actually think it's yellowy at all. Like it's just gray and the blending of the colors is off. So for me, that's a normal grass, and Slosh 2 is just a bigger normal grass. So they're just big slot type Pokemon, kind of like the Passimian of the area, but slower. And then building on the Ice Age team, then we have the next kind of the Saber-tooth Tiger. Again, this is an Ice Age kind of creature. These actually could also potentially be the fossil Pokemon of the area, having the Sloth, the ancient like Sloth. This looks like a great ancient Sloth rather than modern day one. And then we have a Saber-tooth Tiger, which looks to be normal ice potentially. Those could be actually, sorry, it could be rock grass and rock ice if they are fossils. Absolutely, it would be rock grass and rock ice if they're a fossil Pokemon of the region, which they totally could be. And it looks like we have this cute little tiger cub here that goes into this, I would want it. This Saber-tooth Tiger, basically prehistoric. So they should be the fossil types: rock, grass, rock, ice. And I assume one is shield and one is sword again. Next up, we have a dark flying, I guess. Although that looks more like dragon. That's a darker purple. I mean, it looks like more like a dark dragon, but it could be. I mean, I don't think. I think it's dark flying. It's or dark ghost. It could be ghost is even darker purple. It's much more likely that it's like a dragon purple, right? Man, hard to tell. So dark. I'm gonna say dark flying, dark dragon, dark ghost. Who knows? But it's the regional bat. You had the Zubat of the area, and it becomes this much bigger kind of like. I hope it's a vampire bat. That's amazing looking. If it is could this be a fruit bat? Like if it's a vampire bat, it's amazing. Would love that. Next up, we have a little mole here that becomes mole 2, which has this like horrendous looking face, which is true and real in nature. It looks like it's going to be rock fairy. So rock fairy, and then becoming again a rock fairy, staying at that. And then we have this little porcupine here, which looks to be pure steel type. So Sting 1, that's called, rather than porcupine 1, it's called Sting. I guess that's just to fit it into the abbreviation. Next up, we have a gazelle. So the first level is pure electric, and the second level goes electric and fire. Nice type combination, electric fire. I don't remember the last time we've seen one of those. Um, hmm, who was the last? Oh, Bar is Rotom. No, that's a ghost fire, right? No, is he electric fire? I think Rotom Heat is probably the only one I can think of. Yeah, Rotom Heat, probably. That's it. Next up, we have a looks like a ground type snail. No, it's not ground. It is. Oh, it probably is ground or rock. Possibly rock as well. Actually, yeah, rock makes a lot of sense. So you snail 1 that goes to snail 2. Although the coloration different there. Maybe maybe it's a ground when it's like a slug, and then it gets this like hardened like Unova crustal, where it gets like that big massive shell on top of it, and it has like a house then. So that's, and it has a shell, and it becomes more rock type then instead. Not sure on that one. Pika Clone 1, which looks to be electric fighting. And fighting, it makes a lot of sense here. It's got those like legs for kicking and jumping. It's got those massive ears. Maybe it can take off and soar across and do some damage with it, or it can hit, even maybe just punches with them. I don't know. It can do big headbutt damage or something like that. So it's, I think electric, maybe normal. Very hard with the blending here, but definitely the second combination is fighting. Cool. Pika Clone that has fighting stuff. Interesting. Next up, we have a Komodo dragon, poison dragon. That's awesome. Also, our dragon poison combination. Big, massive lizard that's got dragon typing. Great. Next up, we have Ivy and Ivy 2. So grass going to grass poison. I mean, grass poison overdone type combination, but I mean, Ivy does grow everywhere. Lots of older buildings in the UK. So yeah, it makes a lot of sense. You'd have tribute to that as being one of nature's biggest things. So yeah, no problem there. Next up is pretty huge, guys. We have potentially the next Eevee evolution. And because there's a sword and shield, and there's like, the fighting type of pyre up there is Fencer A, Fencer B. Steel is what's happening. Like, Armour Evolution is something that, I'll talk about in further videos, but it's something that maybe was happening in this region. And if Armour Evolution is a thing, then who would get an Armour Evolution other than Eevee making this, Steelion, or whatever you want to call it, the Steel Eevee evolution. Here would be the perfect place to introduce that. If Armour Evolutions are going to be a thing, Eevee would get an Armour Evolution into its Steel type. Maybe it's not a permanent evolution. If Armour Evolutions are quite like Mega Evolutions, in that Mega Evolutions only happen when you have the Stone power basically activated during combat. Potentially, Armour Evolutions are only thing that happen while you're wearing the armor, wearing the item, and that then causes an evolution to happen. It's like King's Rock or Steel Coat. However, they're not permanent like they are for King's Rock and Steel Coat. Maybe here in Galar, the item can be removed, like any normal item could be removed, and then you return to your original form, kind of like the Mega is returning to their original form after a battle. That's a theory. I don't know if it's true or not. Maybe once you wear the armor, it's permanent. It bonds with you like Steel Coat does for Steelix and for Scizor, and therefore Eevee, when it has its Steel Coat version, it becomes Steelion. So this is hype. If there's a new Eevee coming and it's Steel type is the most fitting thing with the Galar region, with Sword and Steel, with the potential rumors of Armour Evolution. Steelion makes sense. So then next up, guys, we have this Ghost in a Blanket. I mean, okay, it's just a pure ghost type. But then it evolves to being like, it's got the blanket still there, but it's like wearing like a suit of armor, and it becomes ghost steel. And you can see here now what I thought with the color combinations. That is still ghost up there at the very top of that, like a very light purple trend there of the ghost. But the silver being below it just totally obliterates the merging of the color. That's very hard to see. It's not pure steel type, it is ghost steel. And same for this third one, there is still a trim of purple. So even though like the ghost is now wearing the armor, and then in its final evolution, like the armor becomes a part of its etherealness and it's full ghost armored. This is kind of like our Aegislash, I guess. I'm hoping that's a very, very powerful ghost steel type. Next up, we have this little nose bear guy who's just, actually, I think it's fairy psychic. I think that's fairy psychic. I think it's light pink going into dark pink. Hard to tell. Not going to know much about it. It just looks like some sort of wombat-y type thing. Next up, we have Ferret, which just looks to be pure dark type. This reminds me of Pancham quite a bit, but like not of the panda variety. It's got a kind of mini little cute cubby thing going on, but it doesn't seem to have any evolution, so it's just a standalone cutesy ferret that's pure dark type. Next up, we have Flea. I mean, nothing to go on here other than it's like it looks like the early evolutions of Excelgor and Escavalier. So if there's Armour Evolutions and Flea gets one, I mean, is it not just the third version of Excelgor and Escavalier where it puts on armor and becomes like Escavalier? It's the Flea little guy? Well, I don't know. Maybe, maybe not. That's me. Again, Armour Evolution is not confirmed. We don't know if Armour Evolution is a thing, but if it was, that would be cool. Next up, we have this freaky looking guy who's just called Eyes. Not even like a creature name, but just Eyes. Yeah, it looks like some freaky deaky creature. It looks like it's going to be Ghost Poison, potentially. So that's really cool. Next up, we have the Alpaca type, which looks to be potentially, it looks to be normal ice. So what I'm getting from this, it looks to be normal ice, and then it becomes from a younger, kind of smaller alpaca into a much bigger Camerupty kind of, Mudsdale kind of guy. That's what I'm kind of likening him to, and he's just a normalized version of that. Next up, we're getting a Narwhals, which is awesome. We're getting this like cutesy. It should be water fairy almost from the image, but it's just a pure water type for the baby version, and then it evolves into water fighting with that massive tusk that it uses to, basically do fencing like the fencers above, but underwater. For its narwhal, fully grown narwhal whale with a massive tusk. That's going to be a cool guy. So next up, we have Robot 1 and Robot 2. And again, this could easily be mistaken as being pure electric, but I think there's a trim of gray up here that makes it steel. It's just that steel is its primary type, and then electric is the secondary. But the secondary colors on how you're blending the colors here are totally encroaching on the color from top from the primary colors. So I would say these are steel electric, and it's just a little baby robot that then turns into this bigger, much tougher looking robot, and it's steel electric. Then we're getting our Snowman 1, and then our much bigger Abominable Snowman 2. These look to be pure ice, but again, there looks to be a blur of colors, but I would say in this case, it's just pure blue, pure light blue for ice types. So we have a cuddly snowman that through some means becomes much more monstrous, and that's interesting. Okay, next up we have Thorn 1. I can't even really make this image out. Is it like a dragon full of thorns, or is it just like a briar patch, like a plant? Not sure, but it looks to be possibly fighting fire. Possibly fighting fire, but the fighting type up top there looks to be lightened, but it definitely has a redness of a fire there rather than the darkness of the rustiness of fighting. So I would say that's fire with potentially rock, or potentially actually sorry, rock fire. I would say it's rock fire. That's for me. I should have done a lot more analysis before making the video. I'm kind of doing it live with you guys. That thorn looks to be a rock fire dual type thorn creature. Kind of like the spikes on who was the dragon in Alola that Kiawe had? Oh man, going blank. Okay, anyway, Turtonator. There we go. Turtonator. Kind of like the spikes in his back. If the spikes in his back were their own Pokemon, that's what that Pokemon would be, right? It's a rock fire thing that's hanging off. That would be amazing if the rocks that were on in Turtonator's back were a Pokemon all this time, and there's this Torn guy, and they can live on their own, but they actually want to, like kind of like Shelter wants to merge with a Slowpoke to become Slowbro. Like Slowpoke continues as Slowbro. The Shelter then is just like symbiotically living off it. So these Thorns could be Thorns, and the only way they can evolve is by attaching onto maybe Komodo 1 up there, and then they become Turtonator. Totally not that's never going to happen. That's me fanboying out. But that would be cool if they put that kind of lore in, where in a future generation we get Pokemon that become Pokemon from a previous generation. That would be awesome. We've had pre-Evos before, but this would be different because it's like a Shelter clamping on type scenario. Next up, we have a pure normal kangaroo, which becomes a pure fighting kangaroo. That's cool. I mean, an Australian region would have been amazing. I wanted an Australian region. I've wanted an Australian region since Gen 2 or 3. And this kangaroo Pokemon should have been in an Australian region. Absolutely should have been in an Australian region. It doesn't really fit for the UK at all. Unless you're saying it's like if it's in a zoo, or kind of like Yungoos. If it's like Yungoos where it came from a region far away, and then we're getting tilted that Gen 9 is going to be Australia, because here's this kangaroo, but it's not from around here. It's Pokedex entry states it's from the other side of the world. And we're all like, well, we know where kangaroos are from. They're from an Australian region. And now we know where Gen 9 is going. Gen 9 could be Australia. Please, Game Freak, we want an Australian region. Because there's so many cool, amazing creatures over there. We've already had koalas and stuff like that be, coming into the game. They should be saved for the Australian region. That's where they're from. Or even like, Australia, New Zealand, Tasmania all bundled into one massive explorable region. I'm okay with that. Next up, Unicorn and Monster 1. These are totally mythical creatures from UK folklore. Unicorn, great. We have Rapidash, which has the horn kind of being a unicorn, but having a pure fairy type unicorn, that's cool. Well up for that. And it kind of fits in with the noble creatures from England's mythology. Next up, we have the Loch Ness Monster being a dark water type. Well up for that. It's kind of like Greninja was the last cool dark water type, I think. Yeah, Loch Ness Monster being this like monstrous version of Lapras. Maybe even Lapras evolves and gets a dark typing, because Lapras is kind of like the mini Loch Ness Monster already. Give Lapras an evolution, which we've wanted for a long time. Make it this monstrous Loch Ness Monster beast. Tie this to Lapras. Please tie this to Lapras. It's like when you had the Love Disc, and it should have totally evolved into a Alola. That was, synergy. Love Disc, Alola, boom. That's an evolutionary line. This Loch Ness Monster 1 has dark water typing. It should be the third evolution. It really should say Monster Tree. That would be amazing. If it said Monster Tree, I would be like, or Monster 2 even, sorry. I would be like, Lapras, it has an evolution now. I would be confirmed if it said Monster 2 in my head. Anyway, next up we have the pseudo legendaries of the region, I believe, which are Dragon 1, Dragon 2, Dragon 3, and this is going to be an Ice Dragon, which goes back 2 generations to Kyurem, however you want to pronounce it, being an ice dragon. But he was legendary. This is pseudo legendary. It's the Dragonite of the region. So it starts off as an egg, kind of like Shelgon a little bit did for Salamence. Then it becomes this cool looking guy. Actually, I think his second evolution looks beautiful. And then the third evolution just looks monstrous, kind of like Blue Eyes White Dragon. I think it's kind of like from Yu-Gi-Oh! A bit like that. It's just this monstrous cool beast. Next up, we're going back to folklore again. I mean, Snake 1 looks to be kind of like more Egyptian. It looks to be, I would say, steel poison. I think that's a steel poison snake. And then steel grass, it's definitely a Trojan horse. So again, it's Troy. It's a whole different region that's looking at, that is looking into the Mediterranean regions, but I guess it's English storytelling, so they're okay with that. Next, we have the region exclusive legendaries, Wolf 1A and Wolf 1B, which are coming from the hilt of the sword and the pommel on the shield, I guess you want to call it that. So yeah, these are the box exclusives for Sword and Shield. Don't know much about them. And then after them, oh sorry, you guys actually are not seeing much of this. I have to pull up a little bit here. So there again, you have the unicorn, the legendary, yeah, the ice dragons, the steel poison snake, the steel grass horse, and then the box legendaries. And now we're just gonna move. Oops, come over here and move up again. Apologies, you guys. Let me scroll. There we go. So now you can see at the very, very bottom of the screen, we have North 1, East 1, South 1, and West 1. So, I mean, these look to be location specific, kind of like Uxie and Mesprit, and a bit like the kind of the mythical Pokemon, I guess, of the region. So the 4 northern directions being north, east, south, and west. So you have north. It looks to be a steel water tortoise, so it's kind of like Empoleon, I guess, but it's kind of like, in terms of its typing. Then it's just hopefully a giant tortoise, kind of like Torterra, but better. So Torterra in its look, it can look a bit like Torterra, but instead of having a big, tree on its back, it can have some other kind of cool design, spikes, steel, whatever. But then it's also got way better usability than Torterra did. Next up, we have East, which is a electric dragon. It looks like it's going to be an electric dragon. And if you think East in England, I guess, we have, I would have thought Wales. Actually, if you went west, it would have made more sense because you have the Welsh dragon. But I guess East works fine. I mean, it's a Midlands dragon. Yeah, it definitely looks like it's a electric dragon, which is cool. South looks to be kind of like a fiery bird. I can't really get any close zooming in, but it's I would say that is fire flying, potentially. Can't really make out the image too good, and it looks a bit like Moltres, but that looks like it's too, I'm hoping that's not what. Maybe it's actually dragon. Is it? No, it's not dark enough to be dragon. Maybe it is actually. Oh yeah, maybe it is. It's hard to tell. Hard to tell. West looks to be potentially pure steel, or if not pure steel, steel normal. That would seem weird, but it's like a Bengal or a white tiger, like the show you have in Las Vegas. That that white tiger. Um, so it's mythical because maybe it's hunted near to exist or near to extinction. Uh, Dragons as well, probably, they're always mythical. And then we have these final two Pokemon that are named, being Plague, which looks to be Ghost Poison, and Giant One, which is the carvings in the ground of which, based on the guy with the phallic shape, which we're not showing, which looks to be Fighting Ice. Interesting combination, Fighting Ice, which actually makes South One look like it could be Fire and Ice. It could be Fire and Ice if that's Fire and Dragon, or Fire and Dragon. And then this one could be or it could be Fighting Dragon, and this could be Fighting Ice. Hard to tell. Hard to tell. I would say they're closer to Fighting than Fire, just based on what I'm thinking. But yeah, I'd say Fighting. Then we have 3 question marks for future Pokemon we don't know. So we're not getting any kind of Ultra Beast continuation here, and I'm glad about that. And I don't think we're going to get Z-moves in the region either, because it's been very clear if you're watching any of the anime that people have the Z power. It's a unique to Alola thing. It's kind of been talked about in the anime quite a bit. How the Z energy is really located in the Alola region. That's where the portals to the other dimensions where Z power is all shared are happening. So that's like a unique phenomenon, kind of like a Bermuda Triangle, but in Hawaii region that is for Z power only. So Ultra Beasts only really happen there. Z moves only really happen there, which is great. However, Galar regional variants, potentially Armour Evolution, and potentially even still some Megas could still happen in the Galar region if, may or may not, depending on what is spread to that region at this point in time in the game. But I would exclude Ultra Beast and Z moves, additional ones, from happening in this region. You may in post game get access to stuff from Alola, from some other items coming over. That's just giving you everything they currently have. But during the main part of the game, I don't think Z-moves or Ultra Beasts will be a thing. Obviously, when you're going out to national decks, maybe there's a way of catching them some weird way. That's fine. I don't really mind that. But I don't think it's a thing in the region, really. It's kind of, not really a thing there. So that's really the entirety of the Pokedex. I did say I was going to give the secondary team. If you're still watching the video, this has been a long video, so apologies for that. But if you are still watching, guys, my final thoughts on the 3 starters. So we have Sobble, who is, above me here, guys. We have the 3 images. We'll start with Sobble there on the left. He is the water type, and people think he will evolve into being the actor type. I don't really think that's true based on the evolutions. If we scroll all the way back up and we bring this screen down, I mean, really, the water dragon's an actor? Really? I don't see that at all. You have the sports star, who is Fire Fairy, but he's becoming fairy type and becoming more theatrical. I don't think that at all is the sports person. Now, the bard, the musician for Grookey, totally holds true. Him being like the monkey drummer type thing, playing the monkey stick, which is a percussion instrument in Old England. That theory is still solid, but it doesn't follow the triplicate of musician, sports star, theater person. I mean, you could swap sports person for circus acrobat, and then Scorbunny kind of holds true because it's this moon rabbit that can do fancy jumps and stunts and tight ropes. The moon kind of being high up there, so elevation. You could make that the thing. The water dragon being dramatic just because it had tears at the beginning was a stretch too far for me. Not true at all. Torkoal used to cry all the time, and it's not dramatic. It's not an actor type Pokemon in any way. So for me, here is the starter theory. Scorbunny having the pads, which are not bandages like fighting type, they are matchstick box scratching things that light up matches, basically. We see that from his feet. The pads in his feet, whenever they strike the ground and cause friction, ignition. We have ignition every single time. That is him. That for me is that it's a match pad, like a matchbox for striking matches, lighting fire with. And that was what he is. He's a Scorbunny, likes matches. He evolves into a moon rabbit type Pokemon, but he is the sword of destruction. He is what causes the scorched earth bunny. He is basically the scorched earth bunny. He causes destruction. He causes, it's basically the earth he touches is scorched after he touches it. And that was in the video. We actually had that information. What does Sobble do? Sobble put out the fire. Sobble is the shield. Sobble puts out the fire, therefore he is the shield. He stops further damage from happening. Scorbunny rampages through. Sobble prevents the damage from continuing or going any further. He is the shield that protects the people. He is the water dragon that protects the towns and villages from this moon rabbit that just floats around doing damage to all the ground. Potentially. It's the starters having a much bigger part lower in the mythicalness of the region. Would just be great if they would allow that. Maybe these aren't Pokemon that get given out to new trainers. Maybe these are Pokemon that are almost mythical in themselves. That would be great, but I don't think so. So then what would Grookey be? We've had Sword and Shield. I mean, if you're going on an XYZ type thing rather than a Sun, Moon, Ultra Sun, Ultra Moon, like a doublation, if you're going just on a triplicate Sword, Shield, and then you have what's the green, then what's the next one? For me, it's Hammer. So what is Hammer? Well, it means that he's the mixed person. So for me, Scorbunny is the pure attacker. Sobble is more defensively in nature. Grookey is mixed. Grookey is the hammer. Hammer can destroy, but you turn a hammer around and it can build again. So Grookey is like after the damage is done and after the damage has been stopped, the forest goes on fire, and then Sobble comes on, puts out the fire. What do you need Grookey to do? Come along, plant new sticks, re-seed the area and have more growth. He is the hammer of regrowth. So that's my starter theory: Sword, Shield, and Hammer. Scorbunny, Sobble, Grookey. So guys, that is my thoughts on not just the starter theory that I think the only person who's thinking of, but also on all the potential new Pokemon. I do think this league could be real, guys. I mean, it's solid information. It could just be really, really well made and fan made. And even if it is just fan made, I had a lot of fun going through it. And I hope you guys did too. If you're still watching, we're like 45 minutes into this video, so it's long. I apologize for that. But plenty more videos to come, and I will try and keep future videos more concise. But there was just so much to go through here and catch up on that I kind of want to talk about it all. We touched on Armour Evolution, and I think the Eevee being Steel type kind of almost would confirm there is a version of Armour Evolution going on. We have the Ant Pokemon that can become Ant 2A or Ant 2B. Looks like it could go with Steely. We had the Fencer 1A, Fencer 1B that totally looks like Steel typing. Grookey gets a Steel typing. There's Ghost that gets Steel typing. I definitely think Steel is a much bigger thing here than it has been in previous regions, and we're going to really round out that Steel as a type in this region. I get some awesome Steel types added to the overall Steel roster. So yeah, really, really looking forward to this being hopefully real come the end of the year. Thank you guys if you're still here. I won't waffle on anymore. Please like, comment, and subscribe if you enjoyed my theories, my thoughts, and if you agree with anything, please let me know in the comments below. If you have any theories of your own that I didn't bring up, or if you think I'm way off the mark on a certain Pokemon and it could be something else, or if you have corrections you think on the typings based on those color meshes that were hard to decipher, please let me know in the comments below. I'm happy to talk with you guys, and I will see you all in the next video.